Well, not much has happened for the last week or so, mainly because we're waiting on parts. But last week I got my e-manual online discs. I got the discs instead of the download. Unfortunately, disc 1, which is the main one, was corrupted and doesn't work. So I'm sort of negotiating with e-manuals to get it fixed or give me a download or something. In the interim, I went and bought a Haynes workshop manual last Friday, and I've learned something out of that already. Today I got one part, the water bottle, and we'll put that on in a minute. I like the e-manual online because it has more detail and better graphics than this Haynes manual. This is one of the worst Haynes manuals I've ever had, actually. It's very old stuff and hard to read and hard to follow the diagrams in it, because the printing is so small. Anyway, we'll put the water bottle on the car. I filled the water bottle full of water and it just slides in there on that clippy thing, sort of. There it goes. And now I'll put the hose on it. I need 2 hands for this. Anyway, it's got the hose on it. This is really minor stuff. But down in here is a little electric pump. You can see it just in there. So now I'll just put the key in the ignition and see if it works. Well, that was a bummer. The little pump is not working, and I just checked the fuses and everything's okay in the fuse department, so I'll check the wiring and get my multimeter and check it out. Well, I put the multimeter on the wires and it had power there when I pushed the switch. So I've just taken the pump out. Just has a couple of screws that go through to the front side. And now I'm going to undo the base of it and see if I can free it up. Otherwise I'm up for a new one. How about that, eh? Well, here we are with the little pump, and I've pulled it to pieces. And you can see it's a little gear pump. And what it was, these gears were seized and the thing was clogged up, probably with detergent. I've put a bit of WD-40 on them and I've got them to spin again. I took the electric motor and put some wires on it and it spins and works. So I'll just put it back together and we should have a windshield washer. Well, it goes to show you there is no such thing as some minor little job on an old car. I got the pump going and everything, and then I wondered why nothing was happening, and I had to get a pin and go in there and unblock the little holes. Anyway, she's all working now, so that's one chore out of the way. While I've got the car up on stands, I'll show you the biggest problem that all Model 107 Mercedes have, and it's a very expensive one. Before I bought the car, I studied what the faults were with the car, and besides rust, this is the #1 expensive fault, and I'll show you under the front end. Right, the problem is the cross brace under the front of the car, and apparently, well, apparently I know, the welds here break, these welds, and it's a bit of a major because you've got to drop down all this big wishbone section to be able to repair it again. And you can see on this car it's been re-welded, around, and then boosted it up a bit more where it hasn't broken, but they've been re-welded. This one seems alright, but anyway, you can see these support bits here that go onto the wishbone has been re-welded, and That's a better view back here. And I'm lucky, this one's been repaired. We just hope it lasts and stays that way. Well, here we are, we're back in business now. Been waiting a couple of weeks and finally have some parts from my good friends in America, Pelican Parts. And here's my nice box of goodies. And the first thing I'm going to do is change the console switches here for the windows. They're both broken, and then I can put the lining back on this window and hopefully check it out to see if my shackles clamps are holding the glass properly. Right, they say pull out the ashtray and undo the 2 screws at the back there, and take the support frame out for the ashtray. You pull the ashtray out from the right side and then you disconnect the leads here for the cigarette lighter and light, which unfortunately don't work on mine. Then you can access, you pull up your cover here and you can access the switches down on the inside, and that's what I'm going to do. I'll just unclip these ones and put the new switches on. Now those switches are changed, hopefully I can work on the back window with using the rear switch now. I used this little shackle, which has only got a 20mm gap, as a G-clamp, and found some screws that fit and put them on the opposite side of the shackle, and I'm clamping the lower edge of the glass. I've tried contact cement and araldite to hold the glass in place, and they don't seem to, still pulled out a bit, so I've just got to put the clamp on the other side here, and I'll just run it up and down to see if it holds now. My window seems to be working all right now, so I'll just put the lining back on, and hopefully that's the end of that part of the car story. Right, because the engine has a miss and that, we're going to change all the spark plugs, the rotor button and the distributor cap. And it's quite tight on the edges of this engine to get around the spark plugs. I loosened off the overflow bottle there for the radiator just so I can get my hands around it. But what you've got to use is a tool with extensions and a twist on the end, something like that, to get around and get the spark plugs out. What I'm going to do, as I pull them out, I'm going to lay them in order on the floor. I've already pulled out one, so I can see how they're performing. Don't let anyone tell you it's easy getting the spark plugs out of these cars. It's a good idea to get that water bottle out of the way. It gives you a little bit more hope, but it's very hard taking them out and putting them in. These are the 4 spark plugs from one side of the engine, and they're all oiled up. They're all much the same. I can't pick one that's any worse than any other one. When you change these plugs, make sure you take the cap that goes on here off. I've been unscrewing them. Oh, here's one here. The little screw cap that goes on the top. Make sure you unscrew that, because this is what the leads bind onto. Okay, I've changed the spark plugs and I've taken the distributor cap off, and I've taken the rotor button out, and the rotor button is slightly different. This is the put it in the light, the rotor button that's on the car. Must be an old design or something. It's quite fancy, and this is a rotor button I got supplied, so, and that looks standard to me. So I'm going to change the distributor cap. I'm leaving these wires on it. I'll put the new rotor button on, new distributor cap, and then I'll follow each wire and change them and connect them to the spark plugs so they don't get mixed up with the firing order. And that's what I'm going to do now. Well, I changed the spark plug leads, the distributor cap, the rotor button and the spark plugs, and the car didn't make any difference. It ran like a dog. You could smell the petrol coming out of the exhaust pipe and running really rich. And then I realised while the spark plugs were oiled up, they weren't oiled up, it was unburnt fuel on the plugs. Because it was running rich, it had excess fuel on the plugs. Anyway, I went up the road yesterday, I bought this T-piece, bit of rubber and some vacuum hose. And to give you an idea what it's like in Australia, this thing cost me $17. In America, it's worth about $3. And the same applies to this stuff. In all, this cost me $76 Australian, and had I got it from America, it would have been less than $20. But the thing is, I wanted it now, so I bought it. And yesterday, I printed out the vacuum circuit, but my car's not exactly like this. They're all different, and my car's not like anyone else's. So anyway, you follow out the vacuum lines and pencil them off as you go and change them all, and now the car is running a whole lot better. Matter of fact, it's great. And it was heart attack material when you got smoke pouring out your exhaust pipe, and all it is getting the vacuum hoses in the right places and making sure there's no leaks. So I suppose it was worth the $75 to do that. And so now I'm going to do some other things.